What's up, squad? Just me today. The season ended yesterday, and Scott just left for Italy. So I know this is going to be pushed to the back burner and forgotten forever. So I wanted to do it. And if I'm wrong and this was remembered and we record it later, then you'll never see this video. So you know what if you're seeing this video means. But basically, we wanted to come on, or I wanted to come on and give a one final rankings. We've been kind of slacking because of how boring the season was on rankings for the last 3 weeks for the final six, five, and four. Um, but I would like to give my final rankings, and Scott has sent me his as well. So I'm just going to make the graphic and give a final overview of everybody. But just to give a quick rundown, starting at the final six, Danny won the HOH competition. He nominated Karina and Damon. Caden won the veto, didn't use it. Damon was sent home by a vote of 3-0. At the final five, Caden won the HOH. He nominated Karina and Juan. Caden also won the veto, kept his nominations the same, and Danny and Suba evicted Karina. Rip. And then at the final four, Suba had her first competition win, and then her second competition win with the veto. She had initially nominated Juan and Danny, keeping Caden off the block again. And then her final decision was to keep him off the block again after the veto meeting, uh, which was very controversial. Juan was really pushing for her to use the veto on him so he could evict Caden. But ultimately, Suba sided with Caden, and we're going to see how that works out for her, going into the final three. But yes, this is going to be super fast. I'm going to give my very, very brief, quick thoughts on each person, and I'm going to run through the scores. So Caden's a great first person to start with. He's played a really dominant game this season, but dominant mixed with poor, I think. Dominant, but not great. And I think he knows that, especially after the season. Um, Yeah, I think he's been messy. I think the jury is talking a lot about him in a negative way. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna give my scores. My scores are I had Caden at a 3 for week 9, a 3 for week 10, and a 6 for week 11. Really the same thoughts as I had before was he really has no shot to win this game with the jury that he's got here unless he changes their mind. And then I give him a 6 for week 11 because, weaseling his way out of nomination at all, let alone not being evicted. Crazy. And he's in the final three, and he can definitely comp out, and he can really convince a jury, I think. So I decided to give him a 6 to go up. Scott, on the other hand, gave Caden a 3, a 5, and then I believe another 5. So that puts Caden at a 3 for week 9, a 4 for week 10, and a 5.5 for week 11. And you know what? I don't know. We'll see what happens with Caden. I would much rather have someone who was here and backstabbing than someone who was not here at all. And I think Caden has really proved how much he wants to be here and how much he wants to win. So I respect that. Shoot. Give me 1 second. Go back and undo all this, I guess. All right, and Caden gets his final. Oh, see that's happening again. And here's Caden's final line here. Yes, that is that. Moving on to Damon, only 1 week to talk about Damon. I gave Damon a 2. Scott gave Damon a 2. You know, classic case of Damon really put himself in this position, and it shouldn't be a shock that he was really evicted, to be honest. Um, so two for me. I liked having Damon. He was fun, likable. Just kind of found himself in a little bit of a bad spot, I think. Um, so we're gonna go and show the graph now. This is not updated. There we go. Yes, Damon unfortunately took a little bit of a tumble in week 9, down to a 2 when he was evicted. Okay. Danny. Okay, talking about Danny. Took out Damon in week 9, someone who was not with him. In week 10, he lost Karina, which wasn't great. And then obviously was evicted this last week. So I gave Danny a 7, 6, a 4. And Scott gave Danny a 6, a 5, and a 3, one lower than me. And honestly, I really think that speaks to um I'm not updated. Is really speaking to, yeah, I'm just gonna show the numbers after it's all updated. How we kind of felt about Danny all season, I think. I really think that I was higher on Danny than Scott was for most of the time. Um, but I really enjoyed watching Danny play. And although it might have come across like he was following people maybe at some times, I really don't think that rang true for the overarching theme of the season for him. So I really loved watching Danny play. I would be so happy to have Danny come back and play again. But ultimately, he does receive a 6.5 for week 9, a 5.5 for week 10, and then a 3.5 for week 11. Didn't know he was going home until with the last second, um, which sucks. Um, and here's our graph. Yeah, it sucks having really being at the top for most of the season, takes a tumble, is evicted at the final four, which is sad. Juan is an interesting case because I think Juan played super chaotically at the start of the game into the early jury. Um, but really, I think has found some game sense as we enter the last few weeks of the season. And I'm interested to see how he goes. I think he wasn't able to take out Caden. I think that's his. Well, I'll give my scores first. I gave Juan a 4, and a 5. Um, Scott gave Juan a 5, a 4, and a 5, making his scores a 4.5 for week 9, a 4 for week 10, and a 5 for week 11. Um, yeah, I mean, I think if he's at the end with the right person, although the jury doesn't like him very much, he could convince them that he played a good game. And I think the narrative is that he played super chaotically, which is not false, not untrue. But I also think he's done more than that. And I think what's really going to hurt him is that he hasn't been able to take out Caden yet. This week at the Final Four, not being able to convince Suba was not great for him. But you know what? He's in the Final Three, and I don't doubt that he has a shot to win the final HOH competition. And if he's at the end, I think he has a shot to win. So I think he at least deserves a 5 here. But moving into Karina, lost Karina at the final 5. I gave Karina a 6 and a 3. Scott gave Karina Scott gave Karina a 6 and a this is a 3.5. Hold on, I'm so confused. Scott gave Karina a 6 for week 9 and a 4 for week 10, giving her a 6 and a 3.5. Um, which I think is right. I mean, at the final, oh, I didn't even update one. Sorry. This is updating periodically. Um, at the final 6, I mean, she's in a spot where the people in the game know that she is the one to watch out for. And going into the final five, I think we could kind of see that it was gonna catch up with her. Great job campaigning at the final six though, which is why I think she deserves a green score. Um, but couldn't pull it off at the final five. So that's where we're at with Karina. Loved having Karina play also. Oh my gosh, I didn't update Juan's line. I'm moving so fast. And I'm managing so many things right now. Let's see. 4.5 for one, 4 and 5. Karina had a 3.5. So this is gonna be Karina and Juan's line here. 1 second. And there's that. Yeah. Sucks to see Karina go. And I really would like to have her back. And I think now we're talking about Suba here. I'm just gonna my score right away. I gave Suba a 7, an 8, an 8, and a 5. Scott gave Suba a 6, a 6, and a 5, making her score 6.5, 7, and 5. And I'm just gonna say what I said, at the end of the last rankings, the last few rankings was that uh, you know, if she gets to the end, she's most likely winning the game against anybody. And it doesn't matter how we think she played, to be honest, at all. Uh, if we think she was a good strategic player or not. Clearly, her social skills were enough to award her a win. And so I said, if she's here, I'm going to keep going up every week if she has a fair shot to win. I think she royally fucked up at the final four. And I think that was a very um, you know, conclusive opinion amongst a lot of people. I mean, that was crazy that she kept Caden, and that's going to be the marker of why she lost this game. Um, she had her scores going up, but yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see the finale. We already know what happens. It happened last night, but excited for everyone else to see it. This is our final three. Not our strongest season, I will say, but I still enjoyed doing it. And a very like deserving for whoever wins, but this is the lowest of all time on in terms of our final threes rankings. I mean, usually it's a shock if someone doesn't have a 10 in the final three, maybe even a 9. I don't think anyone's been lower than a 9 in the final three. I could be wrong. Or like not like our highest person has been lower than a 9. But to have our highest person be at a 5.5 is crazy. But ultimately, like season 17 here, it went. Our winner's going to be deserving because that's how the game works. Is that you win by the jury picking you. But yeah, that is all I have to say. So Steven signing off on season 17 rankings. Thanks, guys.